Good, good. Okay, well, good morning, everybody. It's 10:04 a.m. I'm Michael Adams, Secretary of State, and Chair of the Kentucky State Board of Elections. This is our regular scheduled meeting, January 17th. I'll start by calling the roll, and we'll begin with those attending here at the board office in person, and then we'll reach out to those online virtually. I'll just go clockwise. Member Johnson.
Jerry Johnson, member from Franklin County.
Corey Skolnick, member Jefferson County.
James Lewis, retired county clerk, member Nestor County.
Deanna Bringers, member Jefferson County.
And then I'll do the same in our Zoom windows here. Member Lane.
Good morning. I'm Lynn Lane, retired clerk from Ballard County, member.
Member Sears.
Good morning. Hi, Dwight Sears, member Pulaski County.
Member Chandler. You're on mute, Member Chandler.
Good morning. I'm Ben Chandler. I'm the member from Woodford County. Nice to be with you all.
Thank you. So that's 7 of our 8. We have an 8th member that is in the midst of a press conference. He'll be joining us in 30 or 40 minutes. Member Brown. But for the moment, regardless, we have a quorum, and we'll go ahead and commence with our business. So our first action item is to approve the minutes of our December 20th and December 28th meetings. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by member Bringers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from member Lane. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. So we actually have a judge-elect who was patiently waiting for us to certify her election so she can be sworn in. She's got her hand on the Bible and everything. So the next thing we're going to do is to certify vote totals for the 22nd Judicial Circuit, 6th Division. That's Family Court in Fayette County. If y'all will remember, we had a very close election in that race. It went to a recanvass and a recount. And so we've been waiting to ultimately certify the winner of that election on election night. And in the recanvass, the totals were 36,069 for Tiffany Yar, 35,942 for Carl Devine. Recount was commenced. Ms. Yar picked up 13 votes. Mr. Devine picked up 4 votes. And so there was a minor shift in the totals, but no change in the outcome. And so with that, it falls to us to now finalize this election and certify Ms. Yar as the winner. So can I get a motion to certify Tiffany Yar as the winner of Circuit Judge 22nd Circuit 6th Division?
So moved. Second.
We have 2 motions. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, and congratulations to Judge-elect and soon to be momentarily Judge Yar. So next we have, it's not on the agenda, but we have a special guest joining us, and I'll let Carol introduce her.
Or I may defer to Richard. He's done the bulk of the work on the risk limiting audit, and I'm happy to defer to Richard.
I don't know. Let's see. Okay. I just wanted to, we all owe Jennifer and her team a great deal of thanks. I mean, it has been a long year of meetings and constant working. Of course, she's traveling all over the country because she is the RLA expert. We keep saying that. We're very appreciative for her help and her work on this. I'm just going to give her a minute just to kind of talk about the RLA and give whatever she wants to say about it. And then we're going to do the dice roll for the sequence for drawing out the sample ballot or the sample ballots that'll be pulled for the RLA on Thursday. And we'll talk a little more about that here in just a second. But Ms. Morrow.
Do you want me to? I'll stand. No. I'm excited to be here. This has been great watching this office and the clerks across that are participating this in Kentucky sort of stop and they've got so much on their plates, but really have to sit back and think about how do we do a better job auditing our elections? Do risk limiting audits work in Kentucky? Maybe maybe not, we'll see. But this pilot is really a big step forward for you guys, so I'm excited to be here. Do you want to talk about, you want me to talk about the dice roll, or are you
Go
going to
ahead,
talk
you
about
can
the
go
dice
ahead.
roll? So just to give everybody a real quick overview, this audit, we take a random sample of ballots that were cast, and we want to do that in a way, we want to literally think about how to randomly select those in a way that somebody can't game the system, somebody can't know which ballots ahead of time might be selected for audit. And so we do that using dice, and that's not necessary strictly. There are other ways that we can go about that, but it is a fun way to essentially create a random seed and use something called a pseudo random number generator that will take a whole manifest of ballots from the pilot counties that Richard has put together and randomly go through using the seed, this number, and choose those that are going to be selected on Thursday by the clerks. This is kind of the one public part of it. It's really the only fun part of this. As you know, auditing is kind of like watching paint dry, right? We select ballots, we read those off and tabulate those. So this is the kickoff really for what will happen on Thursday. Richard, I'll let you take over the seed.
Okay, so what we're gonna do real quick is I'll give each board member 2 dice, and I'll give the other 3 dice out randomly. We're gonna roll 15 dice, and I'll just go around the room and I'll read a couple dice, and we'll let you roll one at a time. And then Jennifer's gonna write the number up there, and then Sheila will report it in the minutes. The numbers.
While Richard's distributing the dice, if I might add that we have 6 counties in our pilot program, and want to thank those clerks for allowing us to put them in this pilot program. They've worked for the last 6 to 8 months on this process with us while conducting their elections. The counties involved are Johnson County, Madison County, Kenton County, Anderson County, Henderson County, and Fayette County. And we want to thank them again for their participation. This is, an important day for the State Board of Elections to begin this process for this week to conduct this risk limiting audit.
So we'll just start with James, if you will roll the first dice.
First dice,
What is the number?
flat 0.
0. All right. Yeah, go ahead and roll the next.
8.
Does this violate any of our prohibitions on? 9.
Six.
8,
1,
2.
And we'll just come back
I feel like
around.
I'm going up.
2, 8, 9,
Is it- is the other one?
3.
0.
5.
Go ahead now.
Everybody remember the order that they rolled, which one they rolled? I'm gonna kind of read those back. I want to just verify. We have 0,
Yes.
8, 9, 2, 6, 8,
Very
1,
I was
2.
expecting him, yeah.
2, 2, okay, 8, 9, 3, 0.
So that number will be used to plug into the spreadsheet that we have to generate the ballots that we'll be pulling, and we'll have that generated this afternoon. We'll actually provide the counties, how this is working. Thursday at 10 a.m. the RLA will take place. We will send out, Ms. Morrell is going to Fayette County, Her counterpart is going to Madison County. Taylor's going to Kenton County. Karen is going to Johnson County. I'm going to Henderson County. And Jared Robinson from our office is going to Henderson. So we'll kind of take notes, see how things work out, kind of gather information throughout the day, and then they'll be pulling the ballots out, leaving a sheet of color paper where the ballot is pulled. They'll also have attached a ballot to the ballot they pull to a sheet that we have printed out with information, and they'll mark the selection made by the voting for the U.S. Senate race. We'll calculate all that at the end of the day, and they'll send that back to us, and we'll put it into the formula and see what it worked out. So then we'll report back to you. We'll put together a report to report back to the general assembly. So that's how that'll work. So, is there anything else?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Enjoy. Well, thank you all for participating in the dice roll today.
And let me clarify for those watching today, what we're talking about in kind of a more conceptual level. As part of House Bill 574, the omnibus election reform bill that we passed in 2021, we made a number of changes. We expanded voting access, we improved security. Something else that we did is we moved forward a great deal and transition away from electronic voting machines to universal paper ballots. We're almost totally there at this point. One of the nice reasons to go to paper is that you have a process that can be verified, that can be audited. There are two types of audits. There are legitimate audits of the sort that we're talking about and that we're implementing. And I would contrast the kind of stuff that you've seen in some other places in America where election equipment was torn into and ruined, wasting millions of dollars. That's not the kind of audit we're going to be doing in Kentucky. We're doing a sensible, rational audit that's randomized, that's fair and objective, and is not aimed at trying to reward one team over the other team. So with that, we'll go into number 4, approval of county boards of elections replacements pursuant to KRS 117.035. Aaron?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman. We have 4 counties to approve replacement members of their county board of elections. It's Boone, Gallatin, Breckenridge, and Christian. And would you prefer to take them one county at a time?
Y'all want to do it one at a time? We've got the time. We got
Yeah.
this quality.
Boone County has had their Republican and their Democrat member have both resigned and recommended for approval to the board for your approval from SBE is Steve Mueller to replace the Republican member and Janet Coven to be the Democratic representative for the Boone County Board of Elections.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Second county is Gallatin. They had their Republican member resign. And SB recommends James Kinman Jr. to be the replacement member for the Republican on their county board of elections.
We have a motion.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Third is Breckenridge County. Their Democrat member has passed away. And SBE recommends Christina Kinzer as the replacement member for Breckenridge County for the Democrat member of the County Board of Elections in Breckenridge, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Ayes have it.
The fourth is Christian County. Their Democratic member has passed away. And for approval, SB recommends Barbara Morris as the replacement member.
Is there a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Ayes have it.
I will add, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, that all of these names were submitted from their, county executive parties. Or we had, one, I think the Kentucky Democrat Party has done the recommendation in the absence of an executive committee in their county.
Okay.
So we did have all the documentation, that we needed to request this, and thank you to the
Very good.
board.
Did we skip the Democrat and Boone?
No, that
We
was
did.
Janet.
That was a joint
Cohen.
motion. Okay.
Yeah, oh, that was a joint. Should be. I did
What was
Boone
that?
County together, so.
As long as the minutes reflect that.
Yeah, okay.
I think we're okay.
I did mention Boone together, but I didn't separate them. Republican and. It was the only one.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. Very good. So item number 5, we are going to take that up at 10:45 for 2 reasons. A, so that Member Brown can be present for this discussion, and number 2, because County Clerk Bobby Holsclaw is going to be Zooming or calling in for that discussion as well. So we've got about 25 or about 21 minutes that we need to move on to other business before we can get to that. Can we go ahead and move to our financial report from Rachel Pointer?
Sure. So I'll keep it pretty short and sweet for you guys this month. There's going to just be 2 things to note on our general operating budget, which is on page 25 of your board book. The postage total for December is negative. That is because the previous month we paid the Postal One charge. We pay it for the building, and KREF then reimburses us for half of that charge for their usage. So they did that. That's why that number is negative. That is our usage minus what they reimbursed. So that's a credit against an expense. The other total that we want to note is the, can't see with my glasses on, which is pointless, but it's the telecommunication charge. It's only $2,000 or $2,300. That normally is where our MiFis would be. The reason it is so low is because that charge is directly debited from our account from finance, AT&T. They had a problem with their transaction, so we actually caught it. So that did not post in time to make it on that month's finance. So we will see that in January. Other than that, all transactions are pretty much consistent with what we're looking to see. Nothing major. The only other thing that we did want to note is that EAC required us to do our federal financial reporting and progress reporting for our 2 grants that we have. Those were due on the 29th. EAC recently changed their reporting to online reporting. I think a year and a half ago, they have changed it again. So they are using a new system. This was the first reporting period of the new system. So I do expect they have not approved the reports yet. They are in the process of their review, but we do know that they have received them, but we expect to take a little bit longer to get those approved just because they're working with a new system. And that's really all I've got unless anybody has any questions.
I move we approve the reporting of the finances.
So moved. Is there a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any- All right, thank you very much, Rachel.
Thank you.
Moving right along, KCCA, I think I saw Stephanie Schumacher. Are you still, there she is. Hello, Stephanie. Stephanie is the county clerk of Mason County and the president of the Kentucky County Clerks Association. Welcome.
Good morning, Secretary Adams and board. Thank you for having me. I just kind of wanted to touch base on a couple of things going on with county clerks right now. And I wanted to thank Karen and Taylor and Richard for being at our new clerk training last week. We had a lot of training in a short amount of time, and I appreciated them coming and meeting the new clerks and just always being a part of the association and helping. So thank you guys for that. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the election plans. in the way this calendar kind of works, in that, so for instance, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Richard, but I was thinking I had heard a deadline of February 15th for those to be submitted. Is that correct, or am I mistaken on that?
That is correct because of the regulations, it's 90
Right.
days.
Okay, okay. So with that date, I think it's important to note that my election vendor, for instance, is already setting machines beginning February 13th. And those machines are set according to the election plan submitted. So there's kind of an issue with that, in that if I'm submitting my election plan that my county board and I have discussed and come up with and sent for review, and then maybe recommendations are made to improve that plan and are sent back to me, there's a time issue with that. As far as meeting with my board again, coming up with, if we follow the recommendations given, and then to get with the vendor in the setting schedule. Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that I feel like is a problem for clerks. I know my setting date is February 20th. My vendor had already reached out to me asking what my plan was going forward, because, as you know, I'm not the only county they have. So they're already setting and planning the database, which comes prior to them coming to set the machines. So I think there's maybe something we need to work on as far as a calendar. Like, this isn't going to be resolved now, but I think it's food for thought, and to kind of realize where clerks are in this. And my second thing was, we talked about poll books at our training. Last week, we had 4 e-poll book vendors, which were gracious enough to come. They had demonstrations so clerks could visit with them. But here we are, January 17th, and we still have no information from finance. And I know clerks are frustrated, and I know we're concerned in that, one vendor I spoke with said there's a 6 to 8 week delivery time for the poll books in hand at county. So if, let's say, I was even able to order them today, I'm looking at 6 weeks to 8 weeks. That falls in March. And James and Lynn can attest that is the busiest month of the year for clerks, because it's what we call truck rush. And the point of this is that, elections aren't our only business in our office. And so we have other things we have to attend to that take up our time and our attention and our staff. And especially a small county like mine, I don't have a lot of resources to pull as far as employees. So, but back to the point. So the poll books are delivered, say, mid-March. Well, now, I'm training myself, my staff, my clerks. And I mentioned, and I talked to Taylor about this, and I guess my concern is, at what point are we past the point of this being successful? We have 27 new clerks, and every county clerk, I assure you, in the state of Kentucky works hard at elections and is mindful, because we're the face of elections locally. And so I want to make sure that we're doing everything we can, despite this time frame and the way this falls, that we end up having successful primary elections. Have you all heard anything about the e-poll book contracts? Because we still haven't heard anything.
Not to my knowledge, Stephanie, and I've sent an email to try to get an update, and I was hoping to have something during the meeting.
It's a grave concern. I'm gonna be honest. And even if, even if clerks were to select the vendor that the state is currently using, that product is still modified with the software programming, because it does now have a component, from what I saw in the demo, a ballot print option, which is great, but there is there's a training curve to that, to your employees and to your poll workers. So I felt like I wanted to take this opportunity to make sure that board members were fully aware of, I know we look at election calendars and statutes, but like what this really looks like in our office right now. So
Yes.
sorry for all the good news.
Definitely on the planned timeframe, how much
Yes.
time would clerks realistically need? What
For
would be a
poll
bit-
books or for the election plans, Jane? Well, I guess it would depend on when their vendor was setting their machines. Does that make sense?
It does to me, yeah.
Okay, so like I said, the vendor I use is starting February 13th, which is 2 days before the election plans are even due to be submitted. So that could potentially cause some problems for clerks.
If I could, Clerk Schumacher, that's just a deadline too. Y'all, they can be coming in now.
And I agree with you, Taylor. That's right. And I have mine ready to go, but I think we all know about procrastination.
So you might need to work with the other county clerks to remind them and.
I
the
could
conflict that
encourage
occurred.
them definitely to send them in sooner than later, but I mean, there's always those, if you give a deadline, that's when you're going to receive them. And I think you know that probably from previous elections.
Right, yeah.
And at SBE, we're very accustomed to calling those
Okay.
meetings when it gets close to a deadline. I believe Taylor did talk about this at to all the clerks there, and hopefully, a great number of them were there. I have gotten a few email responses from some of them. So obviously it's in their thoughts. Since the meeting on Thursday.
Sure.
But I understand.
Yeah, it's definitely something we can hit even earlier. Can't hit it any earlier for this primary, but as we go into the general, this is something we can take and even hit it earlier than we have been. So yeah,
Sure.
that's something we can happen.
Well, I think that's especially true if there are recommendations made, because this now involves a vendor as well in the way they have set that database for that election for the clerk. So that's the issue, I think, at hand too.
Just a couple.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
yes, Secretary, go ahead.
So just a couple quick points. Number one, I just want to clarify for all of us, but also with clerks especially, you do not have to have a county plan approved if you're opening your precincts. The plan is only required if you are modifying what the default is, which is opening the precincts. And so if you're consolidating or if you're adding vote centers, which is certainly a good thing. If you're doing that, that needs to be approved. But if your plan is just to use your typical plan, you don't have to even submit a plan to SBE under the law.
Right.
Just run your election. And so I certainly don't want, I think roughly a quarter of the counties open all their precincts for November. I don't want any clerk to think they have to wait for the board to get their plan and review it and approve it before they can go ahead and get their machines programmed. Y'all can just go right ahead and run your election. You don't need any kind of approval process.
Correct. Correct.
With respect to the e-poll books, would it be helpful for members of the board and me to contact the Finance Administration Cabinet?
Extremely helpful.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think they've been doing that for.
Actually, we do get updates from them.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I don't know that any additional contact, we have been in touch with them through the process. And it isn't just the finance cabinet involved in this, it is the vendors as well. So, but we have stayed in pretty close contact with them.
If it would be appropriate, maybe after the meeting, maybe if you get an update on where finance says they are and what they expect in terms of timing, then maybe just shoot out an email to us and let us know where they are. That, you know, what we run into, which appears to be the case every time since I've been on this board, is everything we do falls under the shadow of a bunch of changes or different things that we're requiring, or we've just gone through. Yeah, you know, so even the poll books, vendors is a process that we went through that is not going to have to happen every year, right? I mean, we're getting those certified, so I think it's a doing that. But I think from a clerk's perspective, you want to send your plan in on January 1, there's nothing to keep us from looking at it.
Sure.
Past January 1, but just as an example, we set dates that are required by, rather than, you know, anybody that wants to go early. And for those who procrastinate, if we set it for January 1, they'd wait till January 1 probably to send it, so.
Of course. Well, I appreciate your time and attention. Thank you.
Thanks for being here and thanks for your comments. Executive Director.
Okay, to follow up a little bit with Clerk Schumacher's report. It was a really good 2 days that Richard and I and Taylor spent at the KCCA meeting. We had met about 6 of the new clerks who actually took office before the general, but we got to meet about 20 additional ones, or up to 20 that were there, and, you know, was able to really begin that relationship development, because of retirement. So our presentation wasn't until Thursday afternoon, where Tom Watson came and gave an overview of the voter registration system, which is new to many of the clerks that were there. Plus, we're looking at possibly another meeting that gets more into depth, because many of the clerks don't need that in-depth voter registration or any of our other programs as the new clerks do. So that was good. I can ask if Taylor or Richard has anything else to weigh in about our presentation. I know Taylor did some updates, and one of them was about the plans and what we need to do, but maybe this afternoon we can work on an email just to remind the clerks again and try to keep that communication going. We do it pretty often during the process of getting the plans in. It's something we do starting 90 days, and sometimes it's after the 90 days to keep that going. On the e-poll book certification, so I want to thank the board for the month of December. We had 5 meetings in December, I believe. 4 of them were related to certifying e-poll books, and I do appreciate all the members that were able to join on the quorum, to make a quorum. We did certify 4 e-poll book vendors, and as Clerk Schumacher said, they were in attendance at KCCA doing demonstrations. The 4 vendors now certified in Kentucky are Knowing, ES&S, 10X, and Civics. And so it is a decision. It is a quick decision by the clerks. The statute required us to have SBE to have the certifications completely done by December 31st. We did meet that statute. It's been a very quick process to do, but it has, and agreeing with the Clerks Association, it has been difficult for the clerks, because it's not just obtaining a poll book. It's the training, it's the poll worker training, it's the office training. And we understand that, and we're doing everything we can to try to get something. And like I said, if I get something from my request for an update, I will certainly share it before the end of this meeting with everyone here. But if it's not, we will get something out regarding the current RFP procurement process. But we are staying in touch with the finance cabinet regularly, pretty much daily.
Okay.
So, but I really don't have anything else except just always appreciate the working relationship with KCCA and look forward to working with the new clerks coming up and continuing, all the work that they do and helping them get with some guidance through this election.
How many new clerks did she say?
Is it 26 or 27?
There are 27.
A lot.
It's a big class.
It's a big class.
Well, we've got about 5 minutes before
Okay.
our next item. How about this? Is first, if there are any other business for the board? Hearing none. Why don't we go to item 10, which is a closed session to discuss any litigation and other matters. That shouldn't take very long, and that will buy us some time to get Member Brown on and our full scroll on. Do we have a motion to go into closed session to discuss any litigation under KRS 61.810(1)(c)? So move. Do we have a second?
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All opposed. Okay, very good. We'll be back momentarily to discuss the Jefferson County special elections